Hi guys, I'm going to show you how to create enemies in the Baldur's Gate 3 toolkit. Okay, so we're starting off here with just a will and an empty location. Um, and what we'll do is you go down to here where you see this little purple guy. You right click on it so that it deselects everything else. This will give you the root menu for all the different creatures and so on. You'll find there's like weird things like bipedal and bipedal fey and stuff like that. So you don't want to use something that doesn't have anything useful to it, like it doesn't have a character model or whatever. So let's say you want to use this Cambion. You drag it up, click on it, and you can click on this to make sure it stops inputting that. And what you can do is uh, you click on the enemy, and this is basically, because you put this enemy in, it's an instance of the enemy. And so you're not changing actually the root file or anything like that. So you don't need to create like a new version of this. You don't need to right click on this and then say create new from selected. You can if you're going to create the same creature over and over, or you're going to create a permanent change to this creature. But generally what you can do is you just drag it in. So it's like an instance, and then you click on it, and then you'll notice these things on the right here. You can just alter these. So the important thing about making them an enemy is if you come down to uh, there is something called faction. See here, this faction, it says neutral NPC. So what you want to do is you just want to put this to evil NPC. And once, I think what we'll do is before I change that, no, let's change it anyways. And once it's an evil NPC, then it's going to start combat with you as soon as that's updated. So save this. And this is basically all you need to do to input enemies into the game if you want. So long as you can navigate to where you want to put them in, you can put them in like this. And there's a few different things you can do to change them. And we'll show that in a bit. So this immediately starts combat, comes in, attacks me. You'll notice she doesn't have a weapon. But we can change that. So where there's two different ways that you can make it so that they have a weapon. Is one in this items section here, where you can give them a weapon. So let's give like a smoke powder bomb or something like that. Object, grenade. I think it's like a bomb, grenade bomb. Okay, let's put that in. Then she'll have a grenade. She can toss that grenade and it'll probably kill my character. There is also another thing, which is inventory type here. I don't think so. Not the inventory type. That's wrong. I believe it's equipment. Equipment here. So you can give them equipment, like say for example, you could give them like normal warrior equipment or equipment warhammer, let's say. And you can see that she already equipped that warhammer. You can see that. Let's go in so that we can zoom in, hopefully. Trying not to get an opportunity attack. It'll happen anyway. So there you go. She's got that that warhammer and just messed me up. And there's also spells and spell sets. So you can give them a spell set. That's fine, like common beast actions, whatever, and you can change this. But I wouldn't generally say to do that. Like, say you got debug fighter, which is going to give them action surge and things like that. But what you can do is you can just go literally to spells here. And then you can give them just different spells. So you can say Firebolt, for example, Firebolt. And if you give them Firebolt, then they'll be able to cast that. They'll have no restrictions on how much they can cast it. They'll just be able to cast it as much as they want. Um, you can hmm, you can also give them limited amounts of spells, but uh, the way to do this is in items. So you go to items, and then you go to like a scroll, and object scroll, and say you want them to be able to use enlarge once. You can give them an enlarge scroll. But there might be a problem where you kill them and then all of a sudden they've got tons of enlarged scrolls and stuff on them. And to do that, you can deselect lootable. And I believe there's another thing, which is there's another thing like lootable, which uh, which you can change. Okay, so there's something like lootable. I'm not gonna fuss over it now, but that you can select and it will say will drop equipment or something like that, and you can switch that off as well. Here there's also treasure, so you can give them a bit of gold that's relative to the game setting of like where you find them. So wealthy or poor or whatever, depending on what act you're putting them in. So in Act 1, you put like poor or modest and or meager, and then Act 2 like modest and normal, and Act 3 sort of wealthy and opulent, right? Or you can put anything that you like, right? Um, like you might have a specific quest item or a book or something that you want them to have, and so you can do that. Um, that is most of the things. I just want to show you without using the Cambion though, because the Cambion is already pretty much like an enemy. So if I show you on something that's not normally an enemy, you should see that it works. Okay, so I already have it selected, so delete that. And let's find let's find an elf. Elves, base, male, wood guard. Okay, cool. Put him in. And this guy here, he's not normally an enemy, so he's going to be on the factions list right here, neutral NPC. So he's not going to attack when I spawn in. Okay, I'm dead, so let me revive myself. Okay, so resurrect. Oh. Yep. All right. Okay, so he's all resurrected now. This guy isn't fighting. He's just chilling. And so, but if we change, we can also change his stats here. So as you can see, he's Elf Commoner. You can take this, you can then say right click on it, override in your boss monsters thing, or create derived in is probably better. And then you can change their stats, like their hit points and armor class and so on. That's going to change how strong they are, but there is another thing that you want to consider here, which is the level of the creature, because that's going to change how tough they are. So you can give them stats, but those stats are then going to scale with whatever class that you give them. So there will be something called the level. I always just search through these things. Okay, so influence treasure level, no. Where is the level? Lootable level override. Okay, so this is an so -1 is saying whatever level the stats say, that's what the level of the creature is, or something like that. So I can make him have 10 level, and you see that he just leveled up. And if we go in, let's see if we can go on him and press T, and he's level 10, right? But in this case, for some reason, the health didn't upgrade. There are ways to alter that. If you have issues with things, you can always create create a spell or a status. So you might go into shared, like here, and then create status data, and you might take a boost, like some specific boost that you want. It might be like a temporary health boost or a health boost or something like that, and you can just you right click, create derived in, whatever. You can create your boost in your whatever here, and then there is something called statuses. Where's statuses? Default statuses, maybe? Where is this? Default statuses. So you can click on this, and you can find your status, like whatever the boost or the status is that you want them to have. Let's say drunk. And then they're going to have that as a default. You can also do things like disable equipping here to make it so that they can't equip their items that you've put in their inventory, so that that kind of thing is also useful. There's also a thing up here which you can do an animation set. So you can change their animation set to something like Misora or whatever. So then they react like Misora does with like weird whatever or something. Or I found sit works. Also works. Sit on floor, all these sorts of things. You can get them to do that. Let's just say this one. He might do it. He might not. I don't know. And what was the other thing that I wanted to do? There's another thing that I'm just forgetting. Oh yeah, you can change how fast they run and all that sort of stuff here as well if you want to. Whether they can climb ladders, open doors, walk through doors, blood type, death effect. That's all something. Boss is basically, if you click that, they're going to have like a larger health bar, like on the top. Okay, so if we save and come here. See, he's drunk because we gave him the drunk status. Oh, the other, that reminded me. Okay, so the other thing I was going to say is that the statuses, default statuses, is, okay, so these statuses, there's one in here called ambushing. So if you give them ambushing, what they'll do is they'll hide. Let's remove drunk. All right. See? So they'll kneel down and you'll have to pass a perception check to find them. So that's quite useful. He's still drunk. I guess he's just got it carried over from before. And that's basically it. And then if we change him to hostile, to evil NPC, where's that? Down in faction. He should attack us. Evil NPC. And we save that. Come in. Boom. Now he's someone that's fighting us that we can attack, and that can attack us. And there we go. The reason he's crouched like this, like all the time like that, isn't actually because of the ambushing state. So if I remove the ambushing state, I'll show you. He's crouched like that all the time because of that animation set that I gave him, that sit on the floor thing. So see, he's still just sitting on the floor. Let's change that again. to druid, statue, wolf. That's weird. Water pump. That'll really mess things up. Let's try. Um, let's just try maybe. I'm just trying to find something that might be useful because you want something that has the same structure, right? Let's just say, well, not these do not users, obviously. 'Cause This do not use. Yeah, you can just use the normal bases of like these elves and stuff. That's fine. Um, maybe I'll just use hag. Okay, let's see if that changes to anything good. It's all experimentation, obviously. And I'm not sure why that didn't change. But that's the basics of creating combat. So yeah, um, just be aware that sometimes some things can stick or stay with you until you basically reload the level. But most of the time, that's not going to happen. So you can just basically put enemies in like this if you want, and then just alter them how you like. You know, change their display name and that kind of thing. Um, Usually when you put boss, it's going to have like, oh, it does. It actually does have a slightly different, if you see the health bar, it's got like a different shape. But yeah, and yeah, that's it. So that should tell you everything that you need to use for this kind of stuff, and so that you can create enemies in the toolkit for yourself. Right. Take care, everybody, and yeah, have fun learning and creating some mods. Right. Bye.